Hello everybody and welcome to Infinite Chronos. My name is Eric and I am so glad that you have joined me on my channel today. Now, today we are not going to be talking about a particular watch as so much as we're going to be talking about something that is critical to dive watches, and that is water resistance. We're going to talk about all kinds of things around water resistance. So with all of that said and out of the way, let's dive in. I'm really sorry about that pun, but there's going to be about a million more of them for the rest of this video and probably for the rest of the other videos I make. But anyway, brace yourself. Let's go ahead and continue on. Let's define water resistance. What does that mean? Well, it probably means exactly what you think it means. It's the ability of an object, in this case, a watch case, to resist water getting inside of it. Now, this does not mean that it is waterproof, because waterproof means something completely different. Waterproof means that the object is completely impervious to water. Water will never get into it at any point at all. Now, water resistance is the ability of an object to repel water to a certain point. Now, does this mean that a watch can be waterproof? Well, the simple answer is no. No, it can't. No watch can be truly waterproof. In fact, back in the 1960s here in the United States, the Federal Trade Commission banned the use of the word waterproof. Their reasoning is that a watch cannot be completely waterproof under all water conditions. So that's why we see now the words water resistant on our watches. So having gotten all of that out of the way, let's take a look at some different ways that water resistance is measured. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how they measure water resistance. And I know of three ways right off the top. One of them is ATM, the other one is bar, and the other one is in meters. So let's break these three down real quick and go through them. So ATM is not meaning automatic teller machine. No, it's another stupid joke. Anyway, ATM represents atmospheres, okay? It's the abbreviation for atmospheres. And what this is the measurement of the air pressure on you, a person, at sea level. So when you're standing at sea level, not where you are now, not up in a mountain, none of that. When you are at sea level and that air pressure is pushing down on you, that is 1 atmosphere. Now, the next one that I've heard about is called bar. Now, this stands for barometric pressure. And this one, now, don't flame me, but this is what I have read and found out. And if you think it's something different, leave a comment below. You know how to do, you know how this works, so let's get to it. What they're talking about is, again, this is the pressure of the air around you at sea level. Now, this is a little bit different. So essentially, 1 bar is just slightly less than 1 ATM. So they're kind of similar, but they're kind of not. So don't get them confused too much, but they are a little bit related. Now, let's move on to the last one. This one is called meters. Now, this isn't really a pressure reading so much as it is a distance. And let me explain, in my opinion, why I think meters is used. And again, I'm just going to sound like a broken record. If you know really why they're using meters, leave a comment. Let me know. Educate the entire group. It would be great. Here is why I'm thinking they're using meters. Now, meters is obviously the measurement for a distance and not a pressure. And I believe they're using meters because I think it's easier for people to visualize a distance like 200 meters or 50 meters or 1,000 meters, more so than it is for someone to try to visualize 20 bar or 20 ATM. That may not be as readily and easily available for someone to kind of visualize that. So that's my take on those three different types of measurements that were used on watches to measure their water resistance ratings. So now I want us to take a look at some different standard measurements and numbers that you see on watches most commonly, and I'll give you some of the watches that are typically associated with those ratings. All right, so now that we've got the water resistance measurements and so forth out of the way, I thought it would be kind of fun and interesting to kind of look at some common water resistance ratings that you see on watches every day. And I was thinking what I would do is I would give you the water resistance rating and some watches maybe in that water resistance rating category, and then maybe a real world example of what that looks like outside in the real world, just to give you kind of a visualization. So let's go ahead and start off with the 0 to 50 meter water resistance range. Now, watches that you could find in this range, the Casio F91W, Timex, Hamilton as an example, the Timex Expedition North, and the Hamilton Khaki Field, of course. Let's see, I did say Casio, right? Yeah, okay. So we'll just kind of go with that. Oh, you can even find things like chronographs in this area, and Flieger watches. So just as an example, that's kind of the watch you're looking at in that kind of water resistance category. So what does this look like? So 0 to 50 meters. So when we convert that, 50 meters comes out to about 164 feet. All right. So in the diving terms, this is usually where you have recreational diving happening. Your open water diving and your snorkeling and so forth, that's usually anywhere between 0 to 40 meters. But you kind of get an idea. This is where recreational diving takes place. And to give you an idea how tall that would be, 164 feet, that's the average height of a 12-story building, whether it be office or apartment or whatever. So a 12-story building, that's about 164 feet roughly. So it kind of gives you an idea what that 164 feet looks like, right? So let's go to the next one. So now we're going to be at 100 meters. I have to write this down because there's a lot to remember. 100 meters. Now, this is where we start getting into a little more technical diving. So you're going to need a lot more training to dive to these depths. 100 meters, I mean, we look at that and think, oh, that can't be that bad, but it's not that it's bad, it's just it's a whole lot deeper. So watches that you see in the 100-meter category, you do see some dive watches. You can see some Timex watches. A lot of your GMTs, I don't know about now, but about a year or two ago, those were only getting to about 100 meters of water resistance. So some of those GMTs are 100 meters. I can tell you sports watches, a lot of sports watches will be about 100 meters up to 200 meters. But watches like the Islander Brookville, that's a really nice looking sport watch. But yeah, so you get an idea. So how deep is 100 meters? Well, 100 meters is 328 feet deep. So we are getting kind of deep here. Now, as an example, Big Ben in London, that's only 96 meters, okay? So it's only 4 meters shy, but that's 96 meters, so that's pretty tall. You can kind of get an idea what that would look like. It's you're probably about 320-ish feet or so, but that's pretty tall. So if you can just imagine yourself standing at the base of Big Ben and looking up at the top, that would be the surface of the water. So you're really starting to get an idea and visualize what this can look like. But let's keep going. So now we go from 100 to 200 meters, okay? Now we're getting to what's called deep diving. Okay, you know, watches that you see here, you're going to see a ton of dive watches in this category. Lots and lots of dive. In fact, I would say most dive watches are in this 200 meter category, and you're going to see them marked as water resistant, and you're going to see some that are marked as a diver's 200M as an example, and I can explain what that means in a little bit. But watches that you see in this category, you're going to see watches from Seiko. You're going to see pretty much all of your Citizen ProMaster divers. Now they're all going to be marked as divers 200M because those are all certified. But you know, in your Seiko range, you're going to see like your Samurai, you know, things like that. So you're going to see those watches in there. G-Shock. G-Shock is another one. They rate theirs as 20 bar, but that converts to roughly 200 meters as well. And then, of course, my personal favorite, Helm. I love Helm watches. And those are marked as Divers 200. Now, just as a, let me kind of put that into perspective here. So 200 meters, that's 656 feet below the surface. So what does that look like here on on dry land, I should say? Here's what it looks like on dry land. The Pavilion Kuala Lumpur, that's 200 meters tall. That is really, really, really tall. So I'm trying to help you kind of put these things into perspective and go, how deep is 200 meters or 100 or whatever? So anyway, that gives you an idea. So back to the thing where I said, you know, 200 meter water resistance versus Divers 200. So when you have a watch that's labeled as Divers 200, that means that that watch has gone through additional testing and rigorous testing by the International Standards Organization, and that watch is now certified as a dive instrument. Okay, so technically you can use it as a dive instrument, and the ISO certification, I believe it's 6425, lists out a whole ton of things that these watches must meet in order to be qualified to be a diver's watch. So I'll leave a link to that below if you want to see more about that. All right, so let's continue on. Now we're at 300 meters. Now, I believe this is considered ultra deep diving. A lot more training going into scuba. You also are looking, I believe you're starting to get into mixed gas and saturation diving. So you're starting to get pretty deep in the water at this point now. So watches that kind of fall into this category: the Rolex Submariner, as an example, the Omega Seamaster 300M. Those are some watches that are 300 meters of water resistance. I believe you have some Seikos. You definitely have the Citizen ProMaster Godzilla that is 300 meters of water resistance. So let's kind of take a look at 300 meters of water resistance. So that's 900, that's 980 feet deep under the water. That is incredibly deep. To give you an idea of what that means, that is the height of the Mumbai television tower in India. So just kind of put that in your head and imagine that. That is incredibly deep water. So let's go to the next one. So from 300, now we are at 1,000 meters. 1,000 meters. This is a little less than half a mile down. Yeah, so there's no humans have ever gone down 1,000 meters with just scuba gear. The closest was done in 1991 by Comex, and they made it 720 meters, which was about 2,300 feet. So at 1,000 meters, you're talking 3,280 feet. So what kind of watches are rated for 1,000 meters? Well, you have watches like the Oris Pro Diver GMT. You have the Seiko Marine Master Emperor Tuna, as an example. And you also have the Omega Seamaster Ploprof. That one's rated at 1,200 meters. So you are really, really far down. So as an example, what is something that here on land that we can relate to about 1,000 meters? The Jeddah Tower in Saudi Arabia, I believe, that comes in at 1,000 meters. So incredibly high. So for our last one, we're at 3,900 meters. So 3,900 meters is the equivalent of about 2.4 miles down under the water. That is incredibly deep. The only watch I know of that is rated at 3,900 meters is the Rolex Deep Sea. If you guys know of any other watches rated for 3,900 meters or even past this, let me know. Leave a comment. I want to know all about this. So anyway, so 3,900 meters, 2.4 miles down. That is 12,795 feet under the water. To give you a rough idea, the Titanic, the wreckage of the Titanic sits at 12,500 feet under the water. That's about 2.3 miles down. Visually, what would 3,900 meters look like? That would look like if you took 5 of the Burj Khalifa tower and stacked 5 of them on top of each other. That is what that would look like. At this depth, the water is so cold and there is so much pressure pushing down, and it is absolutely pitch black. So you can't even imagine that. So that's really incredible. So let's go ahead and give you my final thoughts on everything, and we'll wrap it all up. All right, guys, so there you have it. There's some interesting facts on water resistance and water resistance measurements and so forth. I thought that might be kind of fun for people to kind of take a look at and kind of get some ideas and see what those distances really look like in real life. But hey, if you really like content like this, please leave a like. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. I also do watch reviews and just, you know, things like this, anything watch based. So I'd really like it if you would subscribe to my channel if you have not. And please be sure to leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought about this video. And I've also left a link to the ISO ratings for 6425, which makes a dive watch a diver's watch and gives it that certification. And if I have you for just another minute or two, I put a couple of other videos up here that I think you might like to take a look at. Thanks so much again for watching. We'll see you in the next one.